Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of your average esports podcast. My name is Skim and we're back here for a Kiev major review, and I'm joined here by my two lovely friends, Ben and Steven. Welcome back. We did a preview on the show, so it's only appropriate that we do a review as well, just to wrap everything up. Unfortunately, didn't get to do a halftime show, but you know, that's why we're here now.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, your internet needs to just get better at events, Skim, and
Yes.
then we'll be able to do that.
Internet at a hotel. I thought it was a really nice hotel, right? And I thought that internet hotels in Eastern Europe were all well equipped with internet, but no. Also, apparently, high speed internet these days means like one megabyte, basically. It's awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. All right. Kiev major, OG won, fourth major finals, fourth title. Pretty impressive. Steven, you wrote a beautiful article on how OG's basically been the kings for the past 1.6 years.
Close enough.
Which one of... Alright, I actually didn't check the VOD. I should have checked the VOD of our last show, actually, but... Did any of you predict OG to win?
I did.
God damn it. I definitely had IG. I
had OG in my compendium, but I felt like it would be an OG-IG final.
Right. No, I remember that.
I can give you some stats on what most people thought, based on...
Please.
Like, we did a poll before the event.
Yeah, right.
And Weibo, which is Chinese Twitter, had 59.68% of all viewers, which was 6,372 per leads. So just under 60% put IG as the favorite, and then they had OG and then Newbee, and then random. But I think Twitter and Reddit were a lot closer. They had OG first, EG second, VP most likely to come, third most likely to win, and then IG. So they got the top four right.
Damn.
Which is pretty good.
Worse than Dota.
Yeah.
To be fair though, and I mean I think you posted this as well, Ben, on your Twitter, right? These four teams are also were also in the top 5 of the in your
Pre-event ELO.
Yeah, pre-event ELO. So
yeah, Liquid was fit. No. So these four were
four of the top 5, right?
And Liquid was the other one. They were fourth.
But then
And
they
they
ran
came-
into...
Yeah, they got a bit fucked. But Twitter and Reddit put Liquid at 5th. So basically, Twitter and Reddit's perceptions are very linked to like pre-event statistics, performance statistics for the teams, which is really good actually.
Which is good, definitely. And I mean, look, no offense to the Chinese, but putting random at 4th is really random.
Yeah.
That's just
As a comparison, the West had random in the like 9 to 12 brackets.
12th. Yeah, I figured.
Mm-hmm.
All right, event then. Group stage. Let's. I mean, since we didn't do a halftime show, I guess it's good to quickly wrap up the group stage a little bit. Swiss bracket. First time that we had that, we had a lot of good first matchups. I think we talked about those as well already. But just to reiterate, we had. I don't think any of us had Team Secret as a finisher, as a top seed, right? Going into this.
Oh, no way.
I mean,
No.
I know that was it us? I don't know. I know I've definitely discussed it with other people that Secret was definitely a team that could potentially, upset and like take games off of top teams. I think that's also what we discussed, but
I think we basically said that there were like of the 4 categories, Secret was probably in the second group, like
yeah,
not top 4, but like 5 to 8, and then but that we were like very unsure about them.
Oh.
Of all of the teams, we were very unsure about them and SG and how random and EG would perform, like of the top teams.
which makes sense because obviously we didn't have much to go on. I mean, we only saw them play the qualifiers, and that's pretty much it. All right, they were super convincing. They everybody.
It's pretty hard to also compare. Sorry, Steven. It's just very hard to compare like results within a region to international. So in the same way that like Faceless, does very, very well in SEA, and we don't know how well that is relative in another scene. Secret was the same. They looked so good in Europe, and when it came to an international stage, who knows how they're going to do.
Yeah, I was going to point out that we can talk about this later, but it's a bit harder to rate how a team plays in this current era of Dota 2 compared to like, let's say 2012, 2013. just because there's a lot less LAN tournaments, so there's a lot less interaction between the regions. So, like a team like Secret, like you see them in the qualifiers, but you only see them against European teams. You don't see them against any other type of team, so you don't really understand. Like you can like theory craft it, but you don't really understand how that style will work out against everybody else. And then we should also point out like 2 of their 3 opponents were like 2 of the teams we considered on the weaker side going into the event.
Yeah. Also, we have like kind of probably like 2/3 the number of premier lands at the moment, and that really does help when it comes to comparing. Not even like the top teams, and the Secret was a top team in Europe, but kind of like the tier 2 teams, so like just kind of come out of nowhere and do really well, which like VGJ did before Kiev, and like you see these flash in the pan teams, and you don't have the consistency. Whereas if you look at like you were saying, 2012, 2013, you had like the Joinder League or the Defense, and it was like all the top teams within Europe and NA playing. And they all play against each other, and I mean, there's obviously ping issues, but you had so many like good results. The scene has grown so much, and the number of Premier tournaments hasn't. It's declined.
It's actually hilarious because I think it was during the event, was it before OG versus EG? Was it? Nahas tweeted out the new El Clasico. I was so ready to actually flame him on Twitter, but then I just decided not to. And he tweeted out, "Oh, these teams have played each other like 10 times in the last 12 months, right?" And then, if you look at
once with a new squad,
yeah, exactly. But if you just look at the period 2012-2013, where the coin at Classico was coined, right? Between Navi and Alliance, those teams actually played each other like twice a week almost, or at the very least, they face each other on LAN much more often than EG/OG did, just because they consistently met each other semi on finals. And that just goes to show that, and this is a bit of a different topic, which we'll probably talk about at some point more in depth, but it's just, somebody brought it up that, storylines like these just don't develop anymore, and because of that, we don't get to see these power levels between teams anymore. At least not on a consistent level like we did in 2012, 2013. But just to come back to the group stage, yeah, Team Secret surprised all of us. But like you said, Stephen, they did play against 2 opponents that we deemed to be either in the 9 to 12 bracket or even in the 12 to 13 to 16 bracket, right? With VGJ and DC, or the former Team Onyx. But then, I gotta say though, when they took down IG, that's when I knew
that was legit, right?
That was such a legit win. They completely outsmarted IG. I think they outstrategized them when they. That was the time when everybody assumed that just going mass Midas was the solution. Puppy just came out and was like, I mean, if you want to buy Midas, I'm just gonna finish the game before the Midas pays itself off. So that was 2 really good victories from Secret.
Yeah, it was kind of a common trend we saw teams play, and it kind of goes back to like card games, like Hearthstone or Magic. You have the kind of circle of death where control beats mid-range, mid-range beats aggro, aggro beats control, and Puppy was, I think in the group stage, doing an excellent job at deciding, which extreme to go to, or where to set his team. Whereas later on, it kind of boiled down into more, you have to pick teams that like hero lineups that can go across the spectrum. And either be very greedy or not. I
think that's something that Puppy has always been really strong at. If you look at the TI1, TI2, TI3, I think at least. I mean, sure, Navi had a distinct playstyle that already made them really strong. The split push or just the. But anyway, the point I'm getting is that I think you can see at TI2 especially that Puppy is really good at adapting to the meta in the middle of a tournament. That is just something that is really, I think, is really difficult for a team. But I think Puppy, especially to me,
I think PPD also got in exactly the same situation. The longer the tournaments, the better, like the truly better captains will be.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get lucky where you're a team that kind of goes towards a specific meta, and that happens to be a predominant meta within the tournament itself. Which is I think comparable to DC at TR5. I mean, sorry, TR6 rather. Where the heroes that they happen to be playing are also heroes which are considered good, and everyone starts playing. But Puppy and PPD were more renowned as kind of trendsetters. Like they would shape the meta themselves, they would react appropriately, and they would like their reactions to popular heroes would also in time become like the default meta results, like meta solutions to certain annoying heroes. So yeah, definitely a lot of respect for him as a player and a captain, but shorter tournaments, shorter formats, not that helpful for him, I think.
Yeah, like if you're talking about Puppy and PBD, like there's a reason these two are considered the two best Western captains of all time, like in all Dota 2. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, but like their adaptation in these long form tournaments were just proved like how superior they were like as captains. Whereas in this one, like Secret's kind of weird in that sense, just because like they got upset so early. Like, how would you rate Secret as a team right now? Like, I don't know if I could do it. Like,
it's difficult, right? Because they technically only played a group stage. I think it's just the same issue as VP after Boston. They technically only played the group stage. Sure, they still won a best of 3 unlike Secret, and they at least won that one. But Secret technically only played one group stage, and they were clearly amazing. And now I think most people will say that, oh, Secret, is technically like still probably top 4, top 6 team. They're probably a really strong team as well. And I know that they've had good scrim results as well. I think so, at least. But I would still say, just based on the playstyle that they showed, and even the individual skill, I mean, even against SG, the first game was a total crush. They just totally crushed SG and knew how to crush them as well. I still would say that they're like a top 6, top 8 team, at least.
I think top 8 is like the most conservative you can be on this. I think you can't say anything really worse than that. Their performance was very good, and right now, I think top 8 is like a very fair assessment. I do believe that we will be seeing them coming up at the Manila Masters, which I guess we'll don't need to dive too much into. You can do a bit of a preview for that, but I think that that'll really be like a testing ground for a lot of the teams that showed such good promise and then bombed out straight away. TnC is maybe in a similar bracket. Still uncertainty, but we know that they can play good Dota.
TnC definitely, I think, also in the very same situation, basically. And I mean, just to quickly wrap up, they did play a fantastic group stage. They scored 3-1. They only lost to VP. But other than that, they beat EG, they beat Thunderbirds and DC. Although Thunderbirds and DC, again, two teams that potentially weren't necessarily top 8 material. But I think the victory against EG was convincing, and the way they played in the group stage was also really convincing. But yeah, I think they're pretty much like Secret, except maybe a bit worse. I'm not. I think if I had to,
I think 10th maybe.
Yeah,
like just below Secret. But remember, these are kind of like our median values, like where the average position where you think they are. With a team like Secret, you can say like maybe they're 8th plus or minus like 1 or 2 spots. But with TnC, it's like 10th plus or minus like 4 spots.
Yeah,
they could have just overperformed at this tournament, I think.
But I'm not even sure if it's an underperformance. It's more like they got the wrong draw.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be able to, the draw is obviously a very significant point. We'll get into that. But I think that against Faceless, like, they need to get over that, like, mental block against them. They need to, like, if you want to go into TI and be confident, you have to kind of expect yourself to be one of the stronger teams within your region. You have to be able to beat teams from it.
I mean,
maybe you just hope to get lucky and dodge them.
Yeah, sometimes you just got lucky and you dodge. I mean, that's happened to a bunch of teams actually. Like the thing about single elim tournaments is like there's always going to be a factor of luck involved. Always. You could have like this happened a lot in SE2 where like the winner of the tournament wasn't necessarily the best player of the tournament. Yeah. Where like the best player of the tournament was knocked out earlier by somebody else. So in that sense, like TnC, I think is a better team than Faceless, but Faceless themselves have a much better matchup against TnC. And yeah, TnC needs to get over this if they want to be considered a favorite at TI. But I think you put them against any other team, I think they have a better chance than against Faceless.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. I think just based on their playstyle, and I mean, they they did have a coach at the event, Kips. I do think that a team that has a capable coach will always have an edge over a team that doesn't. In that sense, I do think that TnC could have had a lot of room to grow. If you look at Fnatic, again, I don't want to overstate the impact that Kips has, and for all I know, she has little to no impact. I don't know. I obviously am not part of the team, right? But if you look at Fnatic, which obviously was also one of the teams that she coached at TI6, you could see Fnatic grow with their opponent and as the tournament progressed. I don't think that Fnatic necessarily going into the event was, or actually I never thought in my life that Fnatic would finish anywhere near top 6, right?
I thought they were top 8. I mean, I definitely think they were top 8.
The only thing about Fnatic in that tournament, or before going into it, was I legitimately thought like DJ was like one of the best supports in the world, and I thought mid one was one of the best mids. So like the only way I could have seen a top 6 was if like those two went off heavily, which was what happened. But even then, it's like a very miraculous run, even all things considered.
Still, regardless of our expectation, I do think that you could see that they kept evolving and kept in the series as well. They kept learning from what happened in the games prior. So, to me, this is something that I think TnC is also capable of. I think that if you look at their previous results, even online, or not results, but the performances, I think they're a team that learns a bit. I wouldn't say quicker than others, but it seems that they're able to adapt to certain scenarios. So I don't know. It's I mean, obviously this is just hypothetical, but TnC in the playoffs against any other opponent or against any other opponents, if they had advanced, that could have been really interesting and potentially shaken things up as well. So
I will say this about analysts is like the best analogy I can think of is an NACS Go team, or it doesn't necessarily have to be NACS Go, but like it's most prevalent there, where the basic idea is like the 5 players in the game, if they make for instance, if they make a bad play and then they die, they look at that replay and they'll say to themselves, it wasn't a bad play. If I only hit my shot, it would have been an amazing play. Whereas, and I think that like mentality is was very similar in SEA Dota to an extent, where they're they make a bad play, but like if you talk to them afterwards, it like felt like it's not that I made a bad play, just I didn't play well enough. Whereas with analysts, they'll be like, okay, this was a bad play, or rather this is like the hard play. Why don't you just go for the easy play instead, or like set them up better that way, like before they go into the game. In that sense, like they do have an impact. It's just like an unseen impact.
Anyway, TnC did not make it. Faces, though, I think they look good against OG. Much better than I thought they could ever. Yes. I will say it's also, to me, it's also part of this patch. I think in this patch it's easier to at least take one game off of the opponent than not to. Or rather, I mean, we saw it at the event, right? How many 2-0s did we have? Not too many.
I think that was also just because the way Swiss kind of works is that you mostly get matchups which, like, the first round are trash, and then they get, like, really good and really good. You know, like, they get progressively better. The first round was kind of close because, well, I mean, in the first round we saw something like 5 2-1s, and I think you kind of expect to see, like, 3, right? Because, you know, in the middle there's kind of close, because how you do is you take the 16 teams and then the bottom you fold in, and so it's like 16 versus 1, 8 versus 9. So you expect these like bottom few to be kind of close. And I think that the big thing was really just noticing something like the SG versus Team Secret was a big upset, and OG versus Random was always going to be a close game. I think given like Random were beginning to recover a bit, they started off pretty bad. Well, they started off well with a win against IG. They went bad, and then there was always that like kind of spark in a lot of their games where they were looking, hey, they can actually do this. You know, like they played against OG in the group stage. They took a game off them. They played against VP in the group stage. They took a game off them, and now they are right here at the end, and it's do or die. I think Random taking a game there wasn't too unexpected. It's just a big upset of Secrets, and like we said, the unlucky draw of TnC versus Faceless. Everything else is, I think pretty reasonable.
I mean, IG Mousesports could have been another trio going into that. I know that Mousesports has proven to do well on the stage, right? But just based off of what they showed in the group and the fact that they did play, they did lose 2-0 against IG prior. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super surprised that it was 2-1. By all means, I do think that Mousesport or IG rather showed that they are not unbeatable in the group stage, right? I think they showed that they're in fact pretty vulnerable. But
I just like Mousesports' draft in that second game where they got maybe next time on pretty signature Ricky.
All right.
He was able to harass mid. It pulled OP. It made the lanes really weird. You had Q and OP dual laning middle against Thug and Mousesports. It became a bit of a wash. And then if you have two people mid, you have a 2 versus 1 and a 2 versus 1. It gives you offlaner a lot. That was just like there was no way they could deal with the Lycan later on in that stage. The split push was too effective. The offlaners had got kind of too much. Like Skylark didn't die a lot. I think that was like really just a signature for that game. And I think that IG as a team learned a lot from that single game.
unfortunately, they didn't make it into the finals, though. Yeah. Lost against VP in the semifinals. 2-0 as well. And might I add, that was very convincing from VP.
Yeah, VP dropped only one game this entire tournament coming into the finals. And that was against Team Random.
No, VGJ.
No, VGJ. It was against VGJ.
Was it?
VGJ, yeah. In the quarterfinals.
Yeah, ROTK has ROTK.
Oh, sorry. So they lost. They dropped two games in. Okay, they dropped one game against Wings in the group stage, and one against VGJ. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I didn't watch the VP versus VGJ series.
It's like the most ROTK thing ever.
Okay, I can't really comment on that series very much at all. But Virtus Pro just did seem to be really good. And what's very, very interesting is that a lot of the bookmakers before the event started had Virtus Pro super high, like suspiciously high. Like it was OG and then it was IG and Virtus Pro almost at the similar odds. And I said to my housemate Gareth, who's a Dota 2 caster for Join Dota, and he was also like, why is Virtus Pro so high? And obviously there's a lot of uncertainty because they're a team that came into this event, they won the CIS qualifier, but for months before that, and they looked very convincing in that, but for months before that, they got DDoSed out of DAC, they had relatively poor performances going all the way back to Boston. They had a good strong showing in CIS, but then you have Secret, who had a very strong showing in EU, and they didn't have high odds. So we were very, very weirded out by that.
Maybe the bookmakers just took the home crowd advantage. Like they're like, all right, VP in front of a home crowd, they're gonna do really well.
In soundproof boosts, I mean, maybe like Adfinum kind of got the crowd behind them, got a lot of support and energy. I just don't think that. To me, if this was held in Estonia, right, and it was Puppy, and Puppy was like channeling in all this energy, I don't think I would have put them at similar odds to IG coming into this event.
No, I agree. I too think that this was pretty weird. I think did you tweet about it or did you message me? But as you said, I
tweeted about it, and I was hoping that someone would say maybe the bookmakers have some sort of like inside edge or they know scrim data or something. But that was just very suspicious, and it wasn't just Pinnacle. There were like 2 or 3 sites that had them very high.
Well, trying to read into like bookmaker odds is pretty difficult, actually, because they don't. As far as I know, nobody releases that the reasoning.
Sometimes they release if there's like fraud or there's like a specific reasoning, but in terms of tips, a lot of the bookmakers have like shared information between themselves.
Yeah, so it's hard to say exactly why they'd rate them as high, because I agree with you. Like, there's no prior to this tournament, there was no outward appearance of VP on the rise again beyond just doing well in their region, and like you said, Secret did well in their region. So,
all right, VP. Actually, just because we're talking about VP already, the finals. I know it's a bit jumping around, but VP in the finals almost won. I think actually we should say they should have won.
I think that
No, alright, I will say they should have won.
Okay, because I personally think like they're they lack a certain, I don't even want to call it discipline, but like they lack a certain quality in like the very end of these games, where like they're more likely to make mistakes than OG, and unless you can like kill OG like decisively before that happens, like I could always see a chance for OG making a comeback. Like I think there was like this funny quote that Xiao A kept saying throughout the entire cast when he was casting this event, where he's like, there's always this saying among captains, never go a Roche when you're ahead. So it's kind of what happened in a bunch of these games. Like, what do you guys think?
I think big match temperament is really where it's at. When you look at like tournaments that are like for over $100,000, there's been only a very, very few number of tournaments where teams from CIS have been in it. And it's Virtus Pro at like the Summit 6, you have Na'Vi at Star Ladder, and then beyond that, you have to look back like really, really far to see like a top tier team. I mean, there was Empire did pretty well at Global Game Show, which was like a really weird tournament, but it had a lot of money, so I guess we have to include it. Can't be unreasonable. There's kind of a lack of experience on a big stage, I think, for some of the CIS talent, and we have some of the most experienced players in Virtus Pro in the form of Solo. I mean, Solo's like super, super experienced. But beyond that, I mean, no one's relatively old. Lil Nan Pasha, Ramses is very young. There were lots of decisions that were, I think, if the team had just been on a big stage more frequently, even if it wasn't for as much money, even if it was for like, whatever, like 20,000, 30,000 star ladders happening every 2 months, I think that their decision making would have been more on point. Their drafting and adaptability would have been a bit different. And I don't think Ramses would have ever bought a Satanic in that final game. Like, what the hell was that?
Dropped the Solar Crest.
Yeah.
I will point out though that I think their drafting was actually still pretty on point in the finals. I talked to Matt about it, and I hope he won't get too mad if I tell it now. But he did tell me that they actually wanted the Alchemists for themselves in the last game. And when they saw then the OD pick as well, he said that it was the first time in that entire best of 5 where he was actually scared, because he knew. I mean, that was a draft that OG had run themselves before, so he knew exactly what they were about to do, and his team obviously knew what they were about to do, and how scary it is to play against that because they do it to others. He literally said they're about to do that to us, what we've done to others. So
but
that's.
Like
I mean,
but the Alch was played differently a bit, right?
I guess, but I still think that, I don't know. To me, VP's draft were actually insane during the entire tournament. I think they outdrafted a lot of opponents, even though I think it's not necessarily. I mean, alright, look, I think they drafted many opponents where other teams wouldn't, or where they at least would just equal. Because I don't think outdrafting these days is usually that much of a deal. Yeah. It's both not really that indicative of whether or not a team's actually going to win, and B, it's difficult to say if a team is really outdrafting somebody these days, mostly because there's so many other things and so many other factors that come into play, right? So even if I say that I think VP has outdrafted a lot of people, obviously there are other factors that come into play when it comes to the outcome, but I still think VP did really great when it comes to drafting.
So when it comes to drafting, I think that there's like 2 points that need to be kind of stated here. First of all, Virtus Pro, in the finals, like Virtus Pro Game 1, I think they were doing super well, right? Mm-hmm. They had like excellent kind of control. The gold advantage at one stage was like 17, 18k in their favor.
Yeah.
And they kind of just they lost it slowly, right? And this leads me to think that if I was solo drafting in the match, I would absolutely just try to keep a similar draft, the next match. And then they win the next match, and then you try to keep a similar draft, and you win the next match. So in your head, you're thinking, shit, we've done something, and we've won 2 out of 3. The one we lost, it was our bad, we fucked up. And then, I'd feel so confident going into Game 4 with a similar draft. But then he changes it and he mixes up. I mean, they keep the Magnus, which is really cool, and OG take the Warlock, and that kind of like causes like this like mental like shift on how you start evaluating the draft. Like, oh, okay, they're gonna take the Warlock, it's gonna deny it for us, and then you go to the final game and you get your Warlock, you're back on it for solo. And as a drafter, like I've spoken to a lot of drafters, they generally like try draft selflessly, like give everyone else what like their comfort heroes, but solo does this in like a different way. Like he always makes sure he has like a comfortable hero early on, and it means that there's less room to counter like his pick. So in his games, Warlock, he knows that there's going to be heroes on the other side which can run around and harass a Monkey King, Spirit. You know, like it's very troublesome as a support, but it provides more flexibility in your cores later on. And I think that I like Virtus Pro's drafting, but I think that like their ability to mix it up was like never used throughout the tournament. You know, there's nothing more like annoying that you just won a game with a specific style and now you like change it completely and dominate again. And he tried to change, I think, too many things in game 4 to like keep it going. And I don't know. I feel that the drafting was overall very excellent by all the teams, but it's also become a lot easier to draft in the recent patches. Like your kind of replacement, because the hero pool of viable heroes like tier 1, even though they're not tier 1, in the past you had like a specific hero that filled a niche. And if that hero gets banned out, you're in a very, very troublesome position. Whereas now there's kind of like replacement heroes. There's kind of heroes which fill a similar role and are only slightly worse. They're like 95% or 90% of. So you don't get out drafted as such, but there is definitely still a huge draft advantage. And I feel that Virtus Pro could have kind of eked out a bit more of that in the finals. OG were able to ban the same 2 heroes 5 games in a row. They were set. They were absolutely going to ban Io and Darkseer every game. So as Virtus Pro, they can mix things up. They can do things differently. And it just, I don't think it worked out for them.
What did you think of the Enchantress pick in the last game?
Art style. That's what I thought. What do you guys? Go ahead.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, Art Style's their coach. I mean, I think that's like an ingenious, and I mean, for those people who don't know, Art Style's their coach, and they've also got an analyst on their team who I've spoken to before, who's very, very influential, I believe, in their team decision making. And I think that Lil's performance in that game was very, very good. But once again, they like accrued an advantage, like 10k or something, and then it just withered away. So in some sense, that's just OG playing excellently, waiting for the right opportunity, never giving up, having faith and ability to turn games around when you're so far behind. And that's something that a lot of the other teams didn't have. That's not the characteristic I would define of teams who beat Newbee when Newbee was so far ahead, or Wings when Wings was so far ahead. I think that's like a unique OG thing at the moment. They work out exactly what they have to do to get back into the game, and they just roll the dice enough times to get in that position.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually why I don't think Virtus Pro should have won. Is just because I don't think Virtus Pro has it in them to like instantly crush a game in like 30 minutes multiple times against OG. And if you can't do that, then you're going to the late game. And if you go to the late game, I think OG like win out those decisions more than Virtus Pro will, even if Virtus Pro go into those games with much higher advantages.
That's a fair assessment. No. Before we're talking a lot about OG, but I kind of want to get to them later. So I'm going to jump back in time a little bit and go to a team that was already knocked out in the quarterfinals. Team Liquid. Team Liquid actually made it to the quarterfinals and put up a really strong fight against IG. Almost eliminated them. They eliminated Newbee after I think it's fair to call it disappointing group stage. I know they still made 6th place after like
tiebreakers.
Yeah, but at the same time, who did they beat? They beat SG. SG was in the group stage probably the worst team of any other team there, and then Faceless, who's also not that great, right? So Liquid
and they lost to DC. I think that's a very disappointing result.
That's like and then they also lost to
Thunderbirds. DC and Thunderbirds.
Losing to Thunderbirds is kind of reasonable. Second at TI.
Yeah, it's like that's reasonable-ish, but that's like that's not what you want.
Losing to
Losing to
DC,
DC, that's like losing to TnC at TI.
yeah, I think that Kuro would have got mad about that. I think Miracle also, like, I think that's the kind of game that losing would just make you mad and make you determined.
Yeah, Miracle's like, God damn it, Demon. God damn it. Not again.
So, what do you guys think overall about the performance? And do you think I mean, does this small or short run ish, if we can call it that, in the playoffs, does this speak to confidence maybe going forward, or is it still pretty concerning for Team Liquid?
It's actually both. Like, yeah, the group stage was pretty awful. Team Liquid, like, they actually showed a bit of caliber against, like, Newbee, but even then, it's like, I felt more like Newbee's mistake in the third game than I felt like Liquid's, like, victory. If you kind of get what I mean. But against IG, I actually thought Liquid was doing very well, even though they ended up losing 1-2. So, like, it could go either way, right? Like, it's it's still a very confusing team as to whether or not, like, they're turning upwards or they're trending downwards.
To me, what was kind of perhaps the talking points of it was, like when evaluating team performance in Liquid, I think it was a very good tournament by Matsumba. And I think it was like something that we needed to see come out, like someone from their team like needed to like be at the forefront of it. Matsumba played, I think, very well in a lot of the games. His Spectre was good. It's a traditional Matsumba hero. Even in the game they lost against IG, I think his Weaver made a lot of good decisions. Miracle also. To me, it was like every game that they lost was kind of like one or two players playing well, one or two players playing okay, and one player playing badly. In the first IG game, the like early rotations and impact of the Visage was kind of limited. I think also a lot of the heroes were roaming on the side of Liquid in that specific series against IG. And it didn't seem to work out as effectively as I think they would have liked. GH's Earthshaker went from, reasonable in game 2 of the series to
pretty sick.
Just completely shut down in game 3 of the series. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all about adaptability, and I feel that like where some teams kind of like they're going on a specific path and they get knocked and they correct themselves. Liquid like try too hard to force their agenda. They need to like be more versatile, and that comes with confidence and experience playing together. They just didn't seem to. Yeah,
it also comes with like the specific types of players too, right? Like, I think JH is good, but I think he's much more limited than when you compare it to somebody like Jerax.
Yeah,
and that's always been. I always felt like that was like when the TI shuffle happened, I always thought Liquid was on the losing end of like the Miracle Jerax trade, just because I thought Jerax is like the guy who opens up a bunch of space for the rest of the team, whereas like Miracle, you need a bunch of space makers, and they never really found that guy for Liquid.
Yeah. And Kuro GH have overlap on specific heroes, but I think unfortunately, Wisp, for example, is one of them. They both play an incredible Wisp. GH is probably possibly a better Wisp. And although we've seen in the past the Western scene has very distinct hero pools for their supports, and the East has very big overlap, Lion, Wisp, or all your Venge, all your signature heroes had very large overlap in the West. But there was always like a couple of heroes that like specific players played absolutely brilliantly. Like your FYs, when they play Rubik, like it's brilliant. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think on Team Liquid, even though Kuro has so many games on Rubik, the drafting dynamic often leads to him not playing Rubik and GH playing Rubik. And I think that's actually, you want your performance heroes to be, like your players with high performance to be on the heroes that they have, that they're like really, really good at. And I think it's just a bit clunky the way that their heroes work. I think we need to see Kuro and GH just go like play ranked. No. I don't think that's.
No, I mean by separate ways. I mean like they need to play different hero pools.
They just need to go play unranked and play like 100 games at Spirits on GH, you know, 100 games in this. And Kuro does 100 games of something else. You know, they just play, like, diversify their hero pool a bit. And it means that their drafting is so much stronger.
That's a good point. That's something that I think we talked about this briefly a little bit earlier as well, in the preview maybe, or was it DAC maybe even? But it's definitely an issue with them, but I mean, it is one issue, right? That's I guess that is the bigger issue with Liquid, that they have so many issues that they need to work on. Like you said, Ben, they're very inconsistent in terms of performance. Not even as a team in general, but also even individually speaking. Like you pointed out, they'll have a game where one is playing super bad, but the next game he's playing super well, but then the other guy that played super well before suddenly sucks all of a sudden.
Maybe it's comparable to like Nip, you know, with Forest and Getright, when they're both performing really, really, really well. Like they're like a force to be reckoned with. They can win. They can win anything, you know.
But like in the current era, it's like you only get one or the other. Is that how it is?
I think that's how it is, but it's not like two players on Liquid. It's like 5, and you need to have like 3 or 4 people having a good game, and at the moment it's just 2. Like there's always 2.
I will say though that also, I think with Liquid, and it's weird that I say this, because I think if I look at Fünf last year, or, you know, when they turned Liquid, the very beginning of this roster, right? Or of the former roster, rather.
Squad, yeah.
To me, what struck out to me the most is, I mean, there was like a series of games, I think there was even a significant statistic about it, where they would be able to make comebacks, right? They were able to hold out, and they would come back even despite, like, I think 10 or 15k gold deficits. I don't know. Maybe I have a statistic about that, Ben. But this team, to me, if I look at their late game, or at their mid to late game, when I look at their decision making, when I look at their movement, I don't know. It feels very. I don't know what to call it, but it just doesn't feel like the Liquid anymore. It just feels like they sometimes either don't know what to do, or sometimes they have too many ideas. And then it's just too sloppy of an execution. Like we said, somebody is messing up. Somebody doesn't feel confident enough to do a certain play, and I think that is to me one of the bigger issues with Liquid. It's just that they, in the mid to late game, they just lack that direction, or that decisive direction rather.
I mean
that kind of to me is like how I envision if I were in the booth, how I can imagine games are going for these teams, and it's like obviously completely made up, like this is in my head, right? But I can imagine Fly just being this chilled guy, you know, going and doing the things he needs. Oh, we need wards here. I'm gonna go, and I can imagine Jirax saying, "Okay, I'm ganking this guy," and someone says to him, "No, don't gang this guy." And I was like, "No, don't. I'm okay. It's fine." And Jirax is just running around, you know, creating chaos. Whereas when it comes to Liquid, to me it feels like Miracle's like, my lane's not going well, and all of a sudden, GH God and Kuro like right click middle lane, and they're gonna go do something about this. And I feel like the impact of like the efficiency of how they move around, and how they like kind of construct the early and mid game for their team is problematic. And that's all that needs to change. Like Miracle can hit creeps. Like Matumbaman, he can hit creeps too. Mind Control, he can stun dudes. Like that's all you need. You just need to have a solid foundation to work on that. And I think that's where Liquid is just like, there's just a few small things that are going like very bad.
On the point of like the difference between back then and now, there is technically a role that is missing in Liquid that they used to have. And then I'm not talking about Jarek this time. I'm talking about Fada, because Fada himself is kind of like has kind of been like a second kind of voice or caller in their teams, and that's like it's not really a role people talk about, but that's actually a pretty helpful role sometimes, depending on the type of team you're running.
I think it's especially important for to have a carry or a core position that can be that secondary leader, because in the late game you need to make decisions around the carry, because obviously you play to have your carry you to the victory, right? So I think in games it is very important to have a carry that can make decisive decisions, and I think that is why players like sumaiL are so strong, or even Arteezy.
Did you watch the post-match interview, Skim?
Which one?
With Anna and Fly.
I did not.
No.
Okay. In it, Anna said like they were having an interview, and it's one of the first times that I've actually heard Anna talk, and it was
Right.
really cool. But he said basically, like, how did Shiva asked, how was it going for you? Like, what were you feeling when you were like, as you were winning, like those winning moments? And he's like, well, the lead up to it was like really weird because I was just, and Fly started describing how he was like kind of, like Anna was calling the shots, Anna was saying what to do. And it's like, it blows your mind. Like I said, you have this like perception of how you think it's going on in the booth. And Fly's like, yeah, he's the farm troll warlord. I'm just like, I'm just this dude. Like, I can't tell this guy what to do. He's the carry. He's in control. He's in the zone. He's leading us to victory. And and I'm just sitting here with Dazzle. Like, he's going to me. And that's how it is. Yeah. You hit a spot.
And I want. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Steven.
I mean, if you just look at a bunch of other teams, like Burning's the carry, I'm sure he's calling some shots. No Tail, I'm sure like sometimes he calls the shots when they're playing a Naga game. EG, they had Fear when he was carry. Like, I do think like a second caller as a carry is like a not really something people talk about, but it might be one of the reasons why Liquid is falling.
And
I think maybe it's also part of the meta. Is like I think Mind Control used to make some good. Like this is also once again completely like my guess is like I think that like in the past Mind Control also used to make some important decisions for the team and the old Liquid. Like, and I think at the moment he's playing kind of on Nature's Prophet. I think he was making some very good decisions, and that was against IG. But on some other heroes that he was playing, it kind of. It's kind of lackluster again. Like he alternates between being in a hero which kind of dictates fights and then being in a hero which kind of, just idly sits by and has to stun a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, going forward, if we assume the Team Liquid stays the same, because I don't know, I think just based on this performance, I don't think they would make any change unless. I mean, we talked about this extensively going into Kiev Major, but. If they do stay the same, do you guys think these are issues that they can solve going, heading towards TI7, or do you think that ultimately this might actually need a roster change?
I think they can solve it. I think they need like a sports psychologist or just a psychologist, someone to sit down with them even for a day or two, even just talk to them, make them talk about their issues and where they think things are going wrong, where they think things are going right. Remember, they're one of the teams that have like come from completely different backgrounds. It's like 5 different countries. Yeah, they need to just talk about their issues and where they think they're going wrong. Maybe they don't even need that. Maybe they can bypass that step. Maybe they know in their head right now what's going wrong.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure because it's hard to say without more like lands because. I'm not even sure if it's like a choking issue. I'm not even sure if it's a communication issue. Like it might actually, if it really is just a playstyle issue, maybe like Nox is right. Maybe Kuroki and GH have to look at each other like, okay, we need to expand our pool so we can get Miracle rolling. Maybe that's it. Like, but the question is even if they fix it, do you think that's enough to win? Like, because I think that's the ultimate goal of this team still is to win TI. So do you think if they fix these issues, can they win? Do they have like, would they become a favorite to win TI?
Oh,
because I don't think that's the case. And if I don't think that's the case, I think they will switch because I think that's the ultimate goal for them still. Like this isn't a team where like, oh, top 8 TI is good. No, this is a team like these guys were really good last year. They've shown some potential this year, but I think the ultimate goal for this team is TI. And if they don't believe that solving these issues will make them a favorite, I think they switch.
So I think that you're right. They go like every team's goal is to win TI, and nothing else matters at all. But if there's no way to achieve your goal, you start looking for secondary goals, and your secondary goals are to do as well as you can at TI, so that you're in a promising position to upgrade, to trade, to get in a stronger position for next season. And I think Liquid, as it stands, I don't know who they would trade in, like who they'd be able to poach to bring in to make that upgrade.
Yeah, I mean,
like
nobody knows right now, right? Nobody knows right now because like the shuffling is about to start.
Yeah, but I'm saying, okay, so Team Secret might, I mean, like in teams that could shuffle, right? Secret could theoretically shuffle, but I don't see Kuro and Papi ever playing on the same team. So it's like not a thing. Virtus Pro, I don't think will shuffle. We can exclude all Chinese teams because they're not really relevant. So that, and I guess we can exclude TnC as well. They're likely to stay together.
And Faceless.
OG, no. We'll get to that in a bit. OG, probably won't change. It would be very, very Game of Thrones if they like Saz Anna and then just bring Miracle back in. That's not going to happen.
No, man. Like, apparently Anna was winning the game for them. They're not going to do that.
DC, I don't think they're going to bring Bulba back. I don't think they would want Demon or Mason.
They want Misery, though? I think Misery's not a bad shout.
I think they would certainly be happy with Misery and Kuro. I believe have like no bad blood. So I mean, that could be a thing.
Like a lot of cooks in your kitchen then, though. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's true.
Just saying.
But Misery
it doesn't have yeah, right. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It definitely doesn't have, look, and also the thing about I don't want to be a captain. There are a lot of players that say they don't want to be a captain, but they
definitely do. Yeah.
Pycat, hello.
Yeah, so Thunderbirds I don't think will change because they're a team that I think are in a similar position, though they definitely like it's something that they're all thinking about. Even if that's like on the complete edge of the mind, even if they're like thinking, okay, there's like a 5% chance we're going to do this. I think that they're a likely consideration. EG, I don't think will make a change. If they do, it'll be because of poor performance in the next couple of months. And if anything, I think they'll just kick someone for PPD.
Yep.
And Newbee, Random, VGJ are excluded. The Greeks were in splits. IG, and SG,
I mean, you don't even have to look. You don't have to look at only the major, though.
Yeah, we got more. We have more data coming up, but I'm saying right now, I think Thunderbirds could very theoretically could split, but I don't see that as likely. What I do think could happen is if Faceless didn't do well at this major, and this is something that I've spoken to a bunch of other people. There's no inside scoop. This is their feelings. If Faceless didn't do well at this major, we might see a Faceless. Faceless, yeah, and Ice returning to China, and I think that would be absolutely the best thing for Ice. In terms of visibility, I think that he performs really, really well. He's been on like potentially the strongest team of all time that underperformed the most, and yeah, it could also lead to another bit of a SCA shuffle. I mean, they don't stop shuffling in SCA.
At the same time, though, they did tell each other from the get-go that they want to stick it out until TI. Obviously, this has, statements like these have been made before, and it has been proven to be completely
false.
Just lies all around. But I do think that Faces will stick it out until TI. I thoroughly believe it.
They've literally won like 2 best of 3s at an international LAN.
Right.
One against SG Esports and one against TnC. To me, this team is like. They have to decide whether they want to stay together and just earn. Like, this is another thing. Like, they're a team that I don't think we can now consider them as TI winners, but they're definitely a team that can kind of easily get the SCA spots. Although there's going to be a lot of competition from SCA coming up, they can get a lot of competition, fight their way through, get a couple of LAN invites because they're a strong team in SCA. But yeah, they have to decide. I think soon whether the money is going to be good enough. Or they want to roll the dice and try to be a TnC of TI6 or an RNG Esports of TI3. That's really where it's at the moment.
We'll see, I suppose. Before this derails too much into roster shuffles, let's talk about some of the other teams that were at the event. We did talk about... Actually, did we talk about IG too much already? I guess a little bit. We talked about them a little bit, I guess. Going into this event, I think they were definitely among the favorites, potentially even the favorite for some people. Certainly for the Chinese community. Certainly for me, actually. But they did not perform as well as they were expected to. They had a shaky group stage a little bit after losing to Secret 2-0, right? But not only the results, but also the performances. When Mousesports did show up, sure, you have a good point, Ben. Mousesports did play well in that game, but also IG did seem vulnerable. They did seem, and against Liquid especially, I don't think that it should have been. I mean, just going into this event again, IG in a position that they were in, I don't think it should be that close against Liquid.
I think IG played fine. I mean, they 2-0'd Miles easy in the group stage. Like I said, they kind of tried out something and it worked very well in the main event. To me, to say that you're like 4-1 against Miles Sports, that's fine. Like if you're 4-1 against any of these teams in game aggregate, that's fine to me. They 2-0'd OG, they 2-1'd EG, they lost to Secret. Secret were on hot form at the time. I think that to me, IG's performance, we're coming tied third, fourth. It was like perfectly reasonable. Mm-hmm. They got drawn against Virtus Pro. I think if we saw them drawn against, if the bracket were flipped, if we saw them drawn against OG, which actually means if we saw IG come fourth as opposed to third, as in if their tiebreakers were worse, I think that we might have seen them in the grand final. Remember that single elim, so the only result which really matters is like who comes first. Like all other results are like statistically watered down. Mm-hmm. If this was double elim, I would definitely expect IG to make a run through the lower brackets and versus Pro again.
Yeah,
in the lower bracket final.
I didn't really. What do you guys make of the IG versus Virtus Pro game specifically, though? Like, I thought that was a bigger whitewash than it should have been.
Yeah. The thing is, I think what IG tried out was kind of stock standard for them. They both games they went Ricky Ember against a Magnus and then some big team fights hero. Like in one game it was Disruptor, another game it was Phoenix. The Venomancer pick from Virtus Pro was like pretty dirty in my opinion, but I mean that's what you got to do. You got to pick the right heroes, and no one's Venomancer, did exceptional. It was just like the first game was just like this big team fight wombo combo. You have the combo of Void and Phoenix, and there wasn't a way I think for IG to fight into that, even though they themselves had pretty good team fight. They had. With Omni Knight being able to throw a Guardian Angel, they had the Repel, they had the Morphling. It just didn't all come together. They weren't able to bring that egg down many times, and it was in part just a great performance by Lil. I really liked his game there. 17 assists in the game is like run the middle of the team, but solo there was just so much chaos happening, and that's like exactly where Virtus Pro like to excel. It's like brilliant. Like there's all this chaos. And then out of nowhere, you just see like brilliant execution. It's the same thing we saw with the Disruptor, in the second game. Like just excellent execution. What's interesting about the second game is like I really like both IO and I like Disruptor for Virtus Pro, but Solo's Disruptor is like
super.
It fed so hard in that game. It fed so hard.
Oh no, but
it died every fight. But it did what it had to do.
I was just about to say,
it's great to see.
Solo is a superb disruptor play. In general, I think Solo is, and this was true also when he was with Vega Squadron. I think he's one of the strongest supports in the world. Him and Shoma were two insane support duo, and I think him and Lil are even that much better just because I don't know. I think they just work out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Solo's just excellent.
That's the dynamic which I would like to see Kuro and GH move into. If there's a sort of comparison, like you have Kuro who's playing the full 5 role. He's the cool, calm, and collected captain. He's making early game decisions related to like strategy, and you put this kind of trust in your 4-position player to go around and like do crazy things, and that's what Lil does. I mean, he does it pretty much. Like he's so innovative and. He's able to come up with these crazy things to do, and they work out because he plays a lot of games. He's just super practiced, and it works out.
Just to quickly come back to IG, though, I think personally, what I saw in Game 2, like there was a period where they were the worst I've ever seen from. That was the worst I've ever seen from IG. They just got caught out, like everybody just got caught out at some point. Everybody died by themselves. There was no support for one another. There was no cohesion in terms of who 2Ps were. There was this specific gank mid actually where they TP'd one after the other, and And Burning decided to not even TP at all, because if he had TP'd, it would have stacked, and he would have been too late anyway. They lost 4 heroes, they traded only, I think they got only solo. And I remember that specifically because, to me, this is just something that... That's just not something that IG would have done maybe like a month ago at DAC, or just at DAC where they feel really comfortable, right? And I think this is just also because they felt really intimidated by, or to me it looked like they felt intimidated by VP based on their first game where VP insta-picked every hero. They just didn't waste a single second. They're like, alright, click, 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 click. They just knew what they were going to play, and
it's like when you play against a chess grandmaster, and you know they kind of just like move straight away. And you spend like 10 minutes thinking, and you're like, what? And like you make a move, and it's like super unexpected even for you, and then they just like respond straight away. I think it did pressure IG quite a lot. I really didn't like the Sven pick in the second game.
Yeah, me neither. I thought that not only did IG not draft well in the second game, I also think they should have ditched the Riki, by the way, because to me it was obvious that VP felt super comfortable playing against the Riki. But also, I think that
that's a bit of a tough one, I think.
But even if IG had still remained calm throughout the first game, right? Even if they had not been affected by the quick draft in the first game. The moment you lose the first game, though, and you go into the second draft, that's when you're thinking, like, are they in our heads? Like, do they really know how we're going to play? All right, let's try something different, maybe. Or maybe we'll stick to what we're doing, and, you know, this time around we just do it better. Well, I don't know. I feel like they just pressured IG a lot, and IG, to me, and this was crunch time for me, because IG, to me, they didn't really have anything else up their sleeve. It didn't look like they had any sort of special draft, special strategy, maybe like a niche pick, like a secret hero that they hadn't really explored before. They didn't really show anything. And if you look at all their drafts at Kiev, was, I wouldn't say exactly the same what they did in DAC, or at DAC, but it felt really similar. Surely they adjusted, especially based on 7.05, right? And based on the bans towards Boboka. But to me, it just looked like they just played the same style, which is, I mean, it still got to the semifinals, so respect to that. But to punch out against VP and potentially even OG, I think they would have needed more.
To me, there were two interesting things about the second draft. The first thing was, first of all, okay, so pick 13 was Riki by IG. And this was right after Bubaka, like a pretty moderate performance in the first game, not amazing. But so pick 13 is Riki, and obviously teams are trying to leave their mid to last pick. Like pretty much every team does this, unless it's like an OP hero in the first phase. But after that, we see a disruptor pick by Virtus Pro, and then the next pick after that is for them is an IO. Like, these are heroes which Riki is like very renowned for being able to go harass, be annoying to. Obviously, the IO is generally paired up with like another hero, so it's 2v1. But Riki, even though they have a Riki on their hero and they're able to harass, Virtus Pro bans Sniper. You know, and even though we know the Riki is going to be like roaming around being annoying, and then they pick VP picks TA, and that mid lane combination completely mitigates the Riki in some sense. And despite that, Bobica would still had like the most kills and the fewest deaths on IG. He was like so good, and it meant nothing. The draft was kind of dunzos in some way. Burning couldn't carry.
Well, I mean, I don't think S-Ben is that kind of hero. Not usually. Like, the variance between like a super strong S-Ben and like an average S-Ben isn't that high. Kind of, you know what I mean? Like, if you give like Slark to black and you give like S-Ben to black, like his Slark will be way better than his S-Ben. You know, it's like like how much performance you can put in an S-Ben is like limited, basically. It's like it's like a role playing hero. Kind of like, you know what you're gonna get out of it. The performance you get out of it isn't going to be super exceptional or like terrible. It's just going to be like it's always going to be like a 7 or 8 out of 10, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. So I think this was prior to DAC, but Skim brought this up a long time ago. Basically, the entire problem with predicting IG to win DAC was the fact that they only had like this one style. Like they were exceptional at executing it. but they only had this one style. And then they won DAC, and we're like, oh, maybe this is all they need. And then we go here, and like the competition's a bit tougher, and everybody's trying much harder. And you're seeing like there's like a crack, like obviously VP like cracked the code here and beat them, right?
Yeah.
So I think this could be either very good or very bad for IG, depending on how they take this loss. Like it could be very good if like they look at this loss and realize, okay, I guess one style isn't enough. Maybe we just retool a bit, find a new style or improve this style and like add some variants and like your strategies. Or it could be very bad and like they look at each other like, this is not. Like, they look at each other, start blaming each other, and like it all falls apart. That kind of thing.
See, the weird thing is, if you look at their online performances, they have experimented with other things as well. Going into DAC, I think maybe like just the week before, they started just spamming Visage in DPL games. Yeah. Right? They just started first picking it or second picking it, and they ran like this physical DPS kind of build, and like everybody's playing Solar Crest now. IG was, I think, one of the first teams to realize that even Solar Crest on core heroes is such a valuable pickup. They would first buy the item on their core Venge.
That's why I thought that we actually Visage would be the highest win rate hero.
Same
of the tournament. I thought there would be OG and IG just picking it and winning with a lot. It's like their best hero and leader.
I thoroughly believe that IG would at some point just whip it out. Just whip out the Visage and just even this is like a cheesy strat, Visage, Venge, go all for all the minus armor, right? Even if it's a cheesy,
very old school.
Very old school. SF mid they literally ran like 3 lineups with like Venge, Visage, and SF mid. Just because they have so much minus armor, they can buff the Sven up to make sure that he's their single core basically, and it would work fine. You have to swap to save him, but for some reason they just didn't really feel comfortable running that strategy at all at this event. Even at DAC they didn't pick the Visage at once, I think. So I don't know what it was. Maybe they just didn't feel comfortable. Maybe they thought it just works against DPL-esque teams, right? But
that's the thing is, I think they were kind of just trying to be reactionary. In some senses, and like when you're the underdog, you try be crazy, you try to do all these wild things, right? And this is like the characteristic of the CIS scene in general, but specific teams in the past when they like the young upshoots, they're gonna try something crazy. But to me, it just seemed like IG were just trying to force it. They were like trying all these things. We just haven't seen like some of the things that they've tried before. And Virtus Pro were, doing the same thing, like you'd expect. They're the guys who are trying out some of these crazy things. The no one Venomancer was like out of control. We just needed to see kind of more consistency in that regard.
Well, too bad. Just quickly to get back to what you said, Stephen, earlier. How IG's it all depends on how IG is going to take this loss. Again, this is just purely speculative, but I think just because they won DAC going into this event, don't think that this loss will be too hard on them. I think if they had fallen short at DAC and fallen short here, I think it would have been much, much worse. But just because I think they won DAC and also convincingly, and I think they lost against VP, which is a very special opponent in itself because VP has a very distinct style, and they beat 2 Chinese teams prior to that, right? It was a run very reminiscent of Navi at TI. Just beating all these Chinese teams because they figured out, how the Chinese are going to rotate. So in that sense, I think that I hope that IG can walk away from this loss and be like, all right, this happened to us, but moving forward, we know that we can still beat 99% of teams or 90% of teams with what we have. We just need to make sure that the other 10% are also covered at some point.
If you had to kick someone from IG, who would it be? If you had to. You're forced to.
Forced to?
Gun to my head. Gun to my head. I pull the trigger. I hope this IG. I just hope this IG team stays together. No, I would probably replace. Oh, this is difficult. OP, because I think you can always get another explosive mid laner, but I think offlaners are super difficult to get in China. You cannot replace Q because he's the
most. There now, right?
Oh fuck! Oh yeah, Faith Beyond is available, I guess. Oof.
Like for instance, like if Like there are 3 candidates I'd pick. You could either go with Hao if he decides he wants to come back. You can go with Maybe for mid lane, or you can go with Faith BN for off lane. Like those are the only 3 people I could think feasibly might work.
So you wouldn't take. Okay, fair enough.
Right? Like I'm not gonna kick the drafter. I think Q is actually pretty good.
You have to leave Q.
I think Boboka's like top tier support for what he does.
Okay.
You might actually. I will say that I do think that Boboka is great, but I do think that, and I'm this is also just hypothetical, or this is just theory crafting, not knowing what the dynamic is in the draft, but it does seem that they always come back to these certain heroes, and I'm wondering if this is just because Q thinks these heroes are good, or if Boboka is like in the draft, they banned out Monkey King and Earthspirit, please give me Ricky. I wonder if with a different... I'm not saying that his hero pool is small by any means, but I wonder if with a different 4 position, if they would have more alternatives when it comes to that.
I mean, if you got like Ice, he'd be like, yeah, give me Pudge. Like, no! No!
Oh, Ice. Also, probably available. I don't know. We'll see what happens
like, all the Wings guys except Shadow is available, as far as I know.
Well... They so the idea, or whatever Jack posted on Twitter, is that 4 of them are going to take a short-term break at least in terms of like
and it's just Shadow who's hanging around.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think that's what I heard as well. Okay, so any other teams that we need to discuss that you think maybe standouts? Maybe we can just talk a bit about TnC.
Yeah.
Had a great group stage. Lost to Virtus Pro. Matched up against Faceless. If you think, if they didn't match up with Faceless, if they got one of the other 14 teams, where do you think TnC would end up? Yeah? Like, could you imagine them beating any one of the semifinalists?
Yeah.
The IGVP, OG, EG?
I think they could beat OG.
I actually think they could beat EG.
Okay.
I don't think they beat either.
I mean, they beat EG 2-0, but it was right. First game I really like. If I had to discount one team's first round results, it's like always EG.
It'd be EG, right?
EG like waking up, like I feel I didn't get a lot of sleep. I don't know, I can always discount that.
No, but that's also not what I based my decision on. I just think that EG, to me, and this is more based on the SG game more so than anything, but also,
SG, yeah.
But also the I don't know, just generally the last few weeks, I suppose, the DC included, is that EG doesn't look really that strong to me. I think EG are very reliant on their cores to carry them right now. I think when they won against SG, I think that was only because sumaiL and Universe had solo lanes. If they didn't, right, go ahead.
sumaiL was like the MVP of the tournaments, I think.
I agree, 100% agree.
I don't think EG would have come top 4 at all. I think if this was double elim, there's no way EG come top 3 unless sumaiL played as well as he did.
Yeah, there's a funny thing to think about that too, right?
Yeah.
Like basically, you go into game 3 and you're like, "Wow, EG looks like they're about to get eliminated." And then what does Crit do? He asks himself, "What would PPD do?" And then gives sumaiL and Universe our solo lanes to carry. Like that's basically a PPD strat.
I don't know. I tweeted even a stat from Dota, but in that entire 3-game series.
What's that?
I don't know. It's like a stat site. Maybe you know it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So in that 3-game series, which lasted for like a total of what, like 2.5 hours or whatever, sumaiL died.
It was like nearly 3 hours.
Yeah, whatever.
It was over 3 hours.
Oh, was it over 3 hours? I was just
3 hours, 5 minutes or something.
I was just guessing at this point. sumaiL died 8 times. He died 8 times. How do you only die 8 times in 3 hours? Right? To me, it is just the guy had a crazy tournament, and he alone carried that series, in my opinion, against SG. So to me, AG right now does not perform well if their cores don't show up, or if they don't enable their cores. Which, I mean, to some sense, sort of applies to everybody, but I think for EG more so than any other team, because to me, Crit and Zai are heavily underperforming right now. I think both Crit and Zai are not playing to the potential, or to the level of skill that we've come to know them. And this is very worrying for EG, in my opinion.
I mean, to Zai only made one massive fuck.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, yeah, the Wisp thing. I'm not even talking about that. But I just think.
Yeah, but besides that, like you're right. I think he's performing at like 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And you expect him to be a 9 out of 10.
At least, right? Because it's Zai, and I've seen him perform
like
10 out of 10.
Zai used to be like the best, right? He's not that anymore.
Definitely not. That's the thing. He used to be the best out of almost anybody in the world, and right now he's like good, but that's just not good enough for a team like AG in like a tournament like this.
Okay. So there was this funny scenario going into the round of 16, where basically it felt like the entire universe was conspiring for the secret EG shuffle to happen.
Yeah.
Like you noticed that, right? You notice like group stage. Oh man, Secret just crushed it. Oh no, EG is struggling. They're struggling out here. And then Secret gets SG Esports. Like, oh my god, if Secret get EG and if Secret beat EG, there's a fucking high chance of that shuffle happening. But luckily, Brazil came through and prevented it. But despite that, EG still have like a lot of problems. I actually do think they need to change somewhere.
Who would have thought that South Americans would save NA Esports?
Yeah.
But who do you change on that team, right? So the most obvious go-to is kick Arteezy. Okay,
Yes!
that's like the circle of like R2. But the second most like obvious thing I think is bring PPD back. But then what do you do? Or how do you shuffle it around?
I would put Crit on 4, PPD on 5. Because I don't think Crit's at 5.
And kick Zai, or does Zai play core?
Oh shit. Maybe I would kick Zai.
Look. I've talked to Zai about this in person, and he has said that, I mean, maybe obviously it was a bit jokingly, right? But that was when he transitioned to the 3 position from the 4 position. I was like, yo, will he ever be mid or carry? He's like, I plan to. Or he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
And then who's Zai to 1? Have three positions then. That could work. But something needs to change, because I think we've seen like close to the limit of what this team can do, and it's very dependent on like sumaiL and Universe to like an extraordinary degree.
That said, I liked Crit's drafting at this event. I think it was
better than DSC.
Was very solid. Yeah, I mean, what's funny is against SG Esports, I'm not 100% sure if this is right, but against SG Esports, I think he picked 15 different heroes in those 3 games. I think it was like literally like completely different drafts every time, and their performance was actually very good. Like the second game they lost against SG Esports wasn't like EG playing bad; it was SG playing very good too. Mm-hmm. They were surprisingly good. Maybe that's a good segue into SG Esports, our lords and saviors from Brazil.
All right, I guess everybody that criticized the Valve direct invite or direct slot for SA and CIS was wrong, or should be chased out of the country, and should be ashamed. I was one of the naysayers, I'll be honest. I was one of the naysayers because I still firmly believe in the concept of a minor or a LAN qualifier. I think if we talk about exposure for a region or helping a region develop, that it would be just as good, if not better. Because if you give teams like SG the chance to even place further, right? I mean, sure, they upset Secret, but they absolutely need to upset to make the headlines. They really need to upset, right? But if you have them in a minor, the chances of them placing well or doing well is so much higher if they play against teams like Alliance, against Mineski, against, I don't know, CDC. It's just, I don't know. To me, I would just love a minor, some sort of LAN qualifier where they get the chance to play against teams that are actually on their own skill level or sort of similar, where they get the experience and they get enough exposure as well. In fact, because these are minors or LAN qualifiers, the attention will be on helping scenes grow and helping these tier 2, tier 1 teams get the exposure, right?
So you want it to be more like the CSGO version?
Yes.
Like that structure?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually think that structure is better because, like, if you look at SG Esports, basically what happens is they pass their minor, and then in order to do anything, they have to be, like, one of the favorites. Like, basically Secret proved themselves to be one of the favorites after the group stage. Like, yeah, we have to beat these guys 2-1. Like, what? Like, they basically jumped, like, 3 steps. 3 steps. And, like, all credit to them, they did it. But
it shouldn't come down to best of 3. You know, like, it shouldn't be reduced so simply. I think what's also annoying as a top team playing against like a newer team is that you're a top team, there's hundreds of demos and replays of how you play. People analyze every move you make. They identify mistakes you make. They do like replay analysis. They do drafting analysis. You're this like underdog team from Brazil. There's maybe like 10 games ever of you like in a official tournaments. There's almost no data to work on. I know it's like I've spoken to a lot of the analysts who work in the SEA scene, and they have like similar issues. Like some of the SEA like new teams are just like 5 players that are like can get no information on. So I think that's like definitely a like disadvantage, like a information disparity there. And the best solution is having minors. Even if you have a minor, not for every major. You know, we have at the moment there are 3 majors a year, 2 non-TIs and a TI. If you just have like, it doesn't even have to be the TI one. It can be like the non-TI, like one of the non-TI ones, right? Where you have like minors in different countries in the world. So this time we had CIS and South America. You can have minors in those 2 regions, and then next time you have like minors in Africa. Like there was a panel discussion about part of this, but you have like minors in Africa and a minor in Australia, and then next time you have a minor in Japan, and you just see like the regions that perform well on the minor circuit stay for the next non-TI major, and like you get to see so many more. Like you're exposing the game of Dota to like the rest of the world.
And you do that without.
It just means you just have to cut like 1 spot or 2 spots from like, you know, of the 16 we have. Like instead of just saying okay, CS gets a regional qualifier, or South America gets a regional qualifier, CIS does. You have like a minor system where like the CIS qualifier winner and the Brazil qualifier winner and 2 other regions, like they go to like a LAN and it's like held, you know, whatever before the event, and the winner of that gets to go.
And that is, and even if you do still give that spot technically to like a quote unquote weaker region, it at least forces these teams to go through an actual competition. I thoroughly believe that the criticism that the SA qualifier received was totally justified. They literally had 3 teams signed up for the actual 3 or no 1 team.
The problem was that there was a big shuffle that happened just before, and some of the top teams also like how to say this. Some of the top teams like didn't want to play with each other, and then there was also like the banned people who couldn't play in Valve events, but like were in teams otherwise. So like it was a bit of a shit show, but I think they made the right decision. They invited 2 teams, and everyone else had to go through qualifiers. The problem with the qualifiers, and this is a disaster, is they had 2 instead of saying okay, well we have 8 teams coming in, so we're gonna have 8 single elim qualifiers. Instead, what they did is they said okay, well we have 2 qualifiers, and we're just gonna take the top 4 teams. So it means that like, if you're on the branch with the top team, you could get eliminated. And it means that of the 8 teams we got, probably 4 or 5 of them are like super good. And maybe as a result, we missed out some of the other teams that could have put up a challenge. Like the names of the teams that are here are certainly strong. Not Today, Team I Know, Union Gaming, Infamous. These are like teams we know, right? But like Vulture's a team that I've also heard. And you know, like they also had to go through the open qualifiers, and that's just like that's the problem. Is we have these like kind of bad teams that like feed to everyone. It waters down the results a lot.
And then I think another problem we're not looking at is Valve themselves are kind of lazy. Like when it comes to like these minor regions, like I'm just saying it straight up, man. Like a bunch of the brackets they make, like they don't even bother checking who the team is. They're like, yeah, we're gonna throw what was PDC called? Wanted. We're gonna throw Wanted. We're gonna invite them in. Like PPD's like, you know, you guys, we disbanded 2 weeks ago. Like what? 2 weeks ago? What?
I mean, I don't think they announced that though. I think it was like a private.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't announce that. But like, they didn't even bother like checking with the team. Do you want to play in this qualifier? Or like, but like there was like the band guy, the match fixing guy from SEA, like who like he started a sentence and like Valve didn't bother checking it until afterwards. Like, yeah, we'll also ban him again. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel like they actually put that much effort into like this like confirmation stage, or like they make these brackets or like the system. So if like I actually think a minor system like comparable to CS:GO is a bit better, just because not only do you get these like qualifier teams from like smaller countries, but you get to see them play against the weaker teams of like the better regions, right? So like that's a much better way to like develop like talent or develop a strength of a team. It's like you have to go up these tiers like a dojo, whereas like in SG's case, like they went from the bottom tier and like you go to the 4th tier immediately. So, but I'm not actually sure if Valve would be willing to go through it, which is like, at the end of the day, they're kind of like the dictator here. Like, if they don't want to do it, nobody else says that works.
Nope, which is unfortunate because I think there's a lot of room. I mean, this is a discussion again, probably better suited for another day, and we did sort of slightly touch on that before, but there's so much room for so many events still in the Dota scene right now. Especially in the tier 1 to tier 2 sphere, I think there's a lot of room where we could just have, smaller... I mean, technically speaking, any organizer could just go ahead and be like, all right, we'll just host this event, not necessarily all the top teams, but we'll just have, like, an EG, we'll have, like, a secret, and then we'll throw some, like, SG Esports in there. That would just never happen because this economy is a bit fucked, but...
I think that it could also be like, we're in a position where a lot of the top teams are choosing very specifically which events they're going to, which they aren't. It leads to a situation where you don't want to host an event and like none of the top teams rock up, but we see kind of like a struggle for diversity in terms of team, like events are trying to become more like unique, more interesting, and like in some way to appeal to their user base. And I think that the minors in Counter-Strike Go get very, very good viewership because it's a lot of teams that we haven't necessarily heard of playing against each other. There's crazy matchups. You still have like decent talent, like top tier talent, or maybe also some of your up and coming talent casting at in these majors. And this whole like experience together is something very new for a lot of viewers, and it's a very good experience. So I think that we could definitely make it appealing to and pretty reasonably priced, like in terms of the cost. It doesn't have to be in a stadium. It doesn't have to be at like an expensive hall or palace or whatever. It can be a relatively low key event. I would like to say it could be comparable to like the old Dream League. Remember when they had like Dream League?
Yep.
Where they had some games in the studio. Maybe the defense is better, but they had like some games in the studio. Like that could be the type of vibe that you get, where you have like a studio environment, teams are playing, you get 3 or 4 games a day, and it happens for 3 or 4 days. Like that's the type of experience I'd really like to see out of a minor system. And you could just do like 4 to 6 teams at a time.
That'd be great.
Well, yeah, it'd be good, but like, it's Valve, like.
It's Valve.
I'm sorry.
Right.
It sounds like a terrible like fucking like argument. It's like it's Valve. Like, what are we supposed to do with these guys?
All right.
The way to make it appealing to Valve is make it seem like an experiment worth doing.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we just. All right. Just the last thing I'll say on this topic. I think Valve just needs to see that the community cares enough for it to be worth it. But the community isn't really that vocal when it comes to these kind of things. Some people will talk about it maybe here and there, but there's never going to be that one first Reddit thread, right? Be like, hey, we want minors. No, it's just not going to happen. Or it hasn't happened at least. So I think this is the biggest issue. Just make Valve see that the community cares. And for the community to care, again, different topic, different day maybe. For now, let's talk about one of the teams that are left that we haven't talked about yet. Newbee.
Yeah.
Newbee finished last.
They're hot, then they're cold. They're yes, and they're no. Like the Newbee were like super disappointing for me because every time I like, kind of thought, oh, they're doing it, they're gonna do it, they just like failed. Like I completely write off their opening series against DC. DC came out way, way stronger than anyone would have expected. They looked good, like they looked reasonable against Miles, dropping a game. And then from then on, it was weird because EG, you expect them to lose, against Wings, you expect them to win. But the way in which they did so wasn't very convincing. They struggled against EG to like hold on in some sense, and Wings, they looked so solid. But to me, it was like they were also unluckily paired against Liquid. I mean, they were a team that came 11th, so they're going to get paired against someone who came 7th, like, or 6th. So whatever, you know, it's unlucky. It's their fault for being so bad. They had bad tiebreakers, but they just looked so bad in general.
Honestly, like if you look at all their losses, I'm not even talking about like the ones where they place badly. I'm even talking about the ones where like they get second or they get third.
Yeah.
The way they lose is all similar-ish. Like they all like crumble under the pressure. All of them like underperform. All of them look like they're out of place, out of time, like out of nowhere. This is like the Charlotte system, and it's like the old Titan symptom of like playing at the majors, where they crumble at like the highest stages of the tournament, and they crumble at the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Like I actually think this team does need a change, even though on paper, this team should be like a top 4-ish team on paper, in terms of performance, in terms of the skill, in terms of like a bunch of like the things you would consider. Like this could be like a top 4-ish team, right? Like maybe it's too high, maybe it's like top 6 team, but like they're crashing out here in like round 16. Their group stage is very unconvincing. Their last major was pretty bad. They're not getting anywhere in like the high pressure situations. I think this team does need to change, even though I think like they're a pretty good team.
I think in these big tournament systems, they are like so solid against Chinese teams. Like that is like a big perk of theirs, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean very much in this type of format. So maybe we're looking at slightly tinted view of how we expect them to perform.
At the same time, though, and this is something that we talked about when we talked about DC and going into the Kiev major, Newbee is not one of these teams that plays a lot of tournaments because they tend to get invited. They
You mean they don't play a lot of like
online matches? Yeah, they don't really play qualifiers because they get invited, right? So I wonder if, or not rather, I wonder, but I think that this is an issue for them.
But that said, they play a shitload of LAN events, right? So they played in. Did they play Dota Pits? That's the only thing I'm unsure about. If they were at Dota Pits,
I don't think so.
No, they were not Dota Pit.
I don't think that. I think it was mainly European teams and IG or something. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, I know at Genting, I was talking to KP, and he said, "Wow, we're like so tired because they have Chinese New Year, which is like a bit later in the year than like I don't know Western New Year.
It's like 2 years long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're at Genting, they just had China Top. Before that, they were at Boston Major. Well, they were WCA. They were at Boston Major. Like they're just being going LAN to LAN to LAN, and they're playing DPL in between.
Did they go to WCA?
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
It says here they got like 5th to 10th.
They came last in their group. The only reason they won a game was because, I mean, they were in the short group where TnC like ditched.
Yeah, and then apparently they went to some kind of major in China too.
Which one? China Top?
Yeah, but I think that was online. So
China.
It was a LAN event.
China Top was a 4-team single elimination.
Okay.
It was
yeah.
who was it? It was Newbee, EG. Was it DC? Did they invite DC? Yeah, DC
yeah.
and not IG.
Yeah,
EG, EG, DC. It wasn't EG.
It was
IG. It was Wings.
Wings, right?
Okay.
Wings.
Yeah, and Wings lost to EG. Newbee beat DC, and then Newbee lost to EG, so they came second. Like that's like a shit show of a tournament. That's like, we're gonna spend 12 hours on a plane, and we're gonna play two series. GG.
And then we fly back. It's not. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, so basically, it went to like 4 LAN events in like 5 months, or like 1 month. 1 month, sorry.
But they were also playing DPL, and they were playing qualifiers. I mean, they're not as many qualifiers, I don't think, but they were definitely playing. At the same time, and that's the thing. Is like if you play what we used to see in Dota 2 in like 2013 a lot was there would be like a period where like lots of online qualifiers are happening. Like some teams are playing in 3 different qualifiers at the same time, and you have Dota every night of the week. Every single night of the week, you have like 4 games on BTS and 3 games on Join Dota, and you'll have like another shit show on Hitbox, and no one gives a fuck about. And then eventually, after like 3 weeks of this, there'll be like a LAN session, and you'll have like one LAN into another LAN into another LAN, and then the whole cycle resets. Like that's what you would see. Now it's kind of not like that at all. Like Dream League are coming up, and other than that, there's just like 1 or 2 qualifiers as the Mr. Cats at the same time. But like, it just seems kind of like scattered a bit. Seems like we're playing in reverse.
Right, and no, but I know that they played a lot earlier this year, but after Genting, basically nothing happened for them. They had like 2 or 3 months of nothing, except for like DPL maybe, once a week.
But that's a lot, dude.
But I mean, yeah, but still, it's just, you know, it's quote unquote just DPL, and that's pretty much the only thing they had to play. They got invited to the Middle Masters, I think, or are they invited? I think they're one of the invited teams.
I could check.
No, Ben should know. He's actually doing that event. I'm just saying.
I mean,
yeah, they're one of the invited teams. So.
they were like one of the first directed teams. Well, I think second or third.
So they're directly invited, and then they didn't. I mean, there's nothing really else. I think they did not play the Starletter qualifier. I'm not sure why are they also invited to that one. Probably, honestly, it's just. They're invited.
We're basically seeing like this kind of trend at the moment where top teams are insisting on a lot of things like whatever direct invite, no qualifiers, and business class flights, single rooms. You know, like the rider list is getting super long, but I think for the most part, some of it's very reasonable. Like these are professional players. I mean, you wouldn't go to football. Well, I mean, I hate comparisons between like the blind comparison between traditional sports and esports, but like you wouldn't expect to see a professional like boxer or football player like, you know, like sharing a room, like a small room with someone at like some seedy Eastern European village. But there's some things that I think are a bit unreasonable. I think qualifiers are something that we need to start seeing more of. Even if it's like seeded where your top teams are seeded into the final round, that's fine. I don't want EG to feel hard done by if they have to play against all the top NA teams for every single event. But I think that we need to see some more online events. Like the proportion is a bit off at the moment. And for DPL, it's done a lot, I think, for the Chinese teams to like get their foot back in the door in the last year.
It's definitely true.
All the way back to Newbee. What do you guys think? You guys think they should stay as 5 or?
I think they should make a change, but I like the thing is I like Faith and Kaka. And I like KP. I think they're like I think U9 has to change with Shadow. I think that's the play.
Oh, Shadow's not a bad choice. I was thinking how.
I was just about to say, bring him back. Bring him back.
Well, sorry, I thought Hao was going to another team already in your fantasy land.
How can go to any other team he wants, man. He's good.
Okay.
The only dangerous spot for Newbee is if like Xiaowei decides to knock on the door, because I think KP is pretty good. But like they might just go with Xiaowei just because he's got that pedigree. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the thing is Xiaowei can also play support.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I don't know. And by support, I mean he can play like one hero every single game. Like
Rubik.
A TI. What was it? A TI? Was it Lina?
Yeah. Oh right, it was Lina. Yeah, it was Lina.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played like Lina like 70% of a patch of 50 games, something like that.
Same with Burning when he played support for IG. He just kept playing Venge.
Yeah.
And then he had so much fun with it apparently that he also started playing it as a carry. Alright, I mean, Newbee.
The only team left is VGJ.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to say. I think they need to like shuffle or do something.
Yeah, I will say. You see how the VP play game went out, or like they banned ROTK 6 times and they end up winning the game. They stopped banning him at all and they start losing games. That's so very him.
It's actually I'm really sad because I think FY and Fenrir are like one of the most iconic support pairings of all time. Like comparable to, like in terms of pairings, comparable to Fly and No-Tail, and in terms of support pairings, maybe the old Puppy and Kuro combo. Like they're super experienced and aggressive. Is like, you know, he was like one of the stars on C deck. The whole C deck squad is kind of like dissipated and gone their separate ways to do their own thing. And There's just
Except
they're
Shiki.
missing something.
With
I mean, fuck Shiki, but Free couldn't play electric. But Freeze, something that Gods was saying actually, like he thinks Freeze dies a lot, and I mean statistically, like he doesn't die that much, but he dies in like, but that's where like stats kind of like the border of stats stop and context is essential. Is that like Freeze dies in like stupid ways. He dies solo in lanes that he shouldn't, and he also dies like he dies when to people that are like behind. Like he is way ahead and he dies. It's like it's like watching me play like mid. It's the same thing. I like get so far ahead. My supports do so much good work for me, and then I just like feed.
All right, here's the thing that bothers me with VGJ, and I know a lot of people want to believe in the romance that is FY Fenrir, but I legit have not been impressed by them yet. I think individually they have stepped it up. I think Fenrir actually especially has improved a lot on an individual level. And I think FY as well has shown that he still is a good player when he doesn't need to do the shot calling. But I think together they have not impressed me yet since VGJ has come back together. I think when you look at the early movement from VGJ, it just doesn't look like they understand what the current meta is or how to play the current meta. It feels like they're wasting resources. They're not efficient about their movements, and I'm not convinced yet. I mean, maybe it just needs time. So in that sense, maybe they don't need to change. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like the old FY Fenrir. Or I mean, obviously it can't be the old FY Fenrir because again, the meta has changed since then a lot. Actually, the game has changed a lot, and they have changed as well. But the romance isn't there. It's there on paper, but it doesn't really translate into the game.
So, if you take that as like a starting point, what do you think about putting dogfights into there?
To replace FY then?
Yeah.
I mean, dude's legit, but I guess it again would depend on how would he synergize with Fenrir, obviously, and I'm not sure if I actually would probably like it because I do think that FY's roaming isn't as great as it used to be, or it's not as good as other roamers are right now. And dogfights, I think, is definitely one of the more standout roamers in China right now. So I think that could be interesting. But
I got a better idea, Skim. I got a super good idea.
What?
Okay, so we take so like listen to me. This will be good. So we take ROTK, and he's the first person we take, and we just put him at number 3, and we forget about him.
Right.
Okay. Then we get Burning at number 1, and our support pairing is Bobika and FY. Bobika FY. Okay, and then we put Sakata mid, and then after a few weeks we get disappointed with Sakata, we kick him and we bring in SEC. I mean that's a combo. I think that's how we do it.
But then you don't have a lane support.
No, we do.
FY?
No, we play FY as lane supports and Bobika as Zarema.
Sure, why not?
And at the same time, we destroy the whole Chinese.
The whole Chinese scene, yeah, just
that literally destroys the entire scene. I was thinking something different. I was thinking you just combine like the best elements of each of these like weak teams.
I thought he was going to go to Team DK. Like, the way he started out with, like, RTK and then Burning, I was like, alright.
I mean, to be honest, I'd kick RTK to bring Ice in. But that's perhaps a bit out of scope.
Big God. Ice is on the market again. Just bring Big God back.
Big God?
I mean, Big God is still around. There are still players on Big God.
Oh, yeah.
Almost all of them are around still.
No, but he means, like, the in-game team is being used.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think Mikas. No, who does it still have? Someone is still on the Big God roster. I don't know who it is though.
I know that YYF is still on the OB roster.
Yeah. It's Old Boys. Sorry, I'm getting confused.
Alright, it's Old Boys. Yeah, YYF is definitely on that roster still. It's funny because always when he casts and he like logs into the game, you see like OB YYF reconnected to the game.
Yeah. I was gonna make a meme about the Old Boys and YYF. That's why I know.
All right.
Anyway, should we wrap up the?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Kiev Major was a lot of fun. Minimal Masters coming up. TI is coming up.
Well, Dream League first.
Dream League, yeah.
Star
Ladder, Summit,
Starladder.
a lot of events actually. All right, just as a fun sort of questions at the end. 3 teams from the major who are most likely to have a roster change. Steven, we'll go with you first.
Oh, you got fucked, dude.
Teams most likely, right?
Most likely, yeah. For you
And
anyway.
I can't count. I assume I can't count random because they're already dead.
No,
Oh,
that'd be lame. You could technically, but that'd be lame.
Yeah. Okay. The 3, I think, it has to be from the major.
From the
itself.
major, yeah, from the major.
I think the most likely will be DC.
Jesus Christ.
That's right. Obviously, the
You
DC
take all the
things-
easy ones.
Yeah, you're asking me for the most favorable, not like the ones I would personally choose. DC, Faceless, and Thunderbirds.
All right. How about you, Ben?
I mean, okay, someone has to say random. Okay, random's one of them.
God damn it.
I think VGJ might split up.
Mm-hmm. And then IGV.
I've been okay with IGV mostly. Yeah, maybe IGV. Maybe we'll see like a tier 2 Chinese reshuffle with like the tier 1 team swapping one in, one out. I think Newbee could also shuffle. Like I think all of these teams that you're mentioning could. Any Chinese team that didn't come top 8.
I was just about to say. I actually would have probably also listed
And
just
VGJ.
the Chinese
And
teams.
VGJ could.
Right.
Like all of them could. Like I don't think it'll be a massive shuffle. I think we'll see a lot of pairs and triplets stick together, but
Like I think any Chinese team can shuffle except IG. Like I don't think IG should change.
yeah,
No.
exactly. That's the thing. It's like IG's unlikely, but I agree. Like any of the lows, I don't think Thunderbirds will change, to be honest.
Okay.
And if they do, it's like a 1-person change.
For me,
DC though, is like for me is a definite change.
yeah. For
I don't
me,
know why.
Totally.
It's just NA. It's like NA.
Abed needs to get out of there, man. You've had your fun in America. Time to go home.
I'm just gonna exclude DC because I also think it's like a safe bet at this point. Who knows? Maybe we're wrong. Newbee,
And random's a given.
Newbee, VGJ, and I'm feeling liquid. I'm feeling liquid.
Oh. Skim, how much of these is just like your guesses, and how much is like you getting players liquored at the after
Oh
party?
no, dude! I didn't liquor up anybody. There wasn't
Yeah,
even
there's
that
a
much
strict
liquor
rule.
there.
There's a strict rule about this.
What?
After parties.
Oh yeah, I know, but
No posting pictures of talent.
or videos.
Yeah, or you rapping.
Dude, there's. Did you know that the Russians absolutely love the Linkin Park?
Yeah, dude. At Manila, I sang in the end with V or J. You know the twins.
Yeah,
I don't know which one it was, but I sang it with one of them.
yeah, me too actually. No, not in Manila, but now in Kiev. I walk into the karaoke bar fairly early into. I mean, like right after I get there, right? And then ever since then, I've heard in the end 4 times. Like that's how often they requested it. I don't know, the Russians or the CIS guys and their.
I'm really sad I didn't get to go there. I actually I really want to go to Epicenter.
It's supposed to be.
It's
It's supposed to. It's supposed to be pretty good. Here it's going to be much better than the last one.
And for those of you who are interested in advertising in this talk show, feel free to send an email to sellout@skimgaming.com.
No, skim@dotabuff.com. Or skimdota@gmail.com. Choose whatever you want. Alright, that's a wrap up then. Thank you guys for joining me. We have
Short show. It was only 68 minutes plus an hour. Really bad at things, those.
I mean, you're still better in counting than Steven is.
Yep.
We'll be back with hopefully a regularly scheduled program, and we have lots to talk about still with other stuff. I haven't talked CS:GO in like a month now, I think. It's bad.
Dream League? I mean, we should do a Dream League EU groups, or you guys should.
It sounds intriguing. Maybe.
It starts on Thursday, and it's only a couple of teams. I think it's only like 6 teams or something that are playing it. So
Yeah, maybe. We'll definitely do something for Maybe Manila Masters. Probably Manila Masters.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see each other next time.